Welcome into Woody's Whiteboard. We're going to be breaking down what Iowa State's offense is going to have to do against this Miami defense. And now, to start, what is Miami's defense if you've never seen them before? It's aggressive, it's pressure, it's sacks, and it's man coverage. That's what they want to do. They run a lot of different defenses. They major in a 4-2-5, but they will throw a 3-down front out there. They'll throw a 4-3 front out there. They'll throw a bunch of different defenses at you, but they like to live in a very blitz-heavy, very man-heavy defense. Now, what does that mean for Iowa State? What are they going to have to do to attack this defense? Well, they're going to have to run man beaters. They've got guys with Jalen Knoll, Jaden Higgins, Bramer, the rest of their offense, the entirety of their offense. You're going to have to run routes, run combinations, execute in a way when you're man-to-man that you win that man-to-man. The last game they had against Arizona State, very rarely were they in true man coverage. That's going to be a pretty big flip of a 180 to go to against Miami. Now, the next thing is do your laundry. What I mean by do laundry is you have to sort everything. When you sort everything on who's coming where, who's blocking who, then blitzes don't really become that big of a pressure. It's when you fail to sort or fail to execute on knowing where those blitzes are coming from or who's protecting whom. That's when you start running into trouble, and Rocco's going to get himself hit, and that's something you cannot have. So you must sort well. The last thing is you're going to have to create space. A guy like Kiko Mauigoa he's their linebacker, he's their stud. He is awesome in the box. He can decleat a running back from a standing position. He is powerful. But the more space you have someone like that operate in and the rest of their defense, the better odds you have of making a miss or breaking a tackle or making a big play. We're going to look at a couple plays to show exactly how a broken play or how you can manipulate this Miami defense into success if you're Iowa State. Man coverage, blitzing. That's when you watch Miami, that's the thing you want to think about. They're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. So right now it's a 4-down front, but they've got a stand-up defensive end. So it's somewhere between a 4-down and a 3-down, but that's not really the thing that this play is meant to show. What this is meant to show, it's 2nd and 2. Generally speaking, 2nd and 2 is a down where the offense has the advantage because they could play action and throw it and miss, and they're still 3rd and 2. So this is a pretty good offensive set. Usually defenses are a little on their heels, not Miami. Miami is going to do, let's just diagram who's going to go where because there's a whole lot happening in this play. Well, let's take a look at their 4-down linemen plus it's a nickel overhang. So really the 5 guys that are on the line of scrimmage, these 5 here. So what's going to happen is there's actually going to be a fold player from this stand-up defensive end. They're going to be straight up in these, the interior defensive line are going to be straight up in whatever gap they're going to be responsible for. They're going to be bringing a blitzer off the edge. Then they're going to be folding this defensive end in and then having a normal run fit by this linebacker. There's a lot happening. What normally would be the case in a down and distance like this is you're going to play it fairly straight up. If you want to bring a blitz, you might maybe twist somebody here or there, but this is something where they want to be aggressive and they're okay with being aggressive. The problem with that is use their aggressiveness against them. What's happening with this defensive lineman is trying to actually clear a little bit of space from the tackle so that this fold player can end up in the right spot. But the problem is their aggressiveness. What it turns into is this player gets washed up the field. If you're playing run defense, you want to keep everything together. Everyone should be on roughly the same level. If people aren't on the same level, this is what is called a run lane. So that run lane is only there because this guy was what an offensive line coach will say, take him where he wants to go. He's playing to go get the quarterback. There's no real reason for it. There's not any pass action, but he's super aggressive. He's getting up the field. What he needs to do is if he feels this offensive lineman pushing him up the field, you have to fight pressure with pressure if you're a defensive player. So as soon as this defensive lineman feels the offensive lineman trying to wash him up the field, he's got to settle down and not let himself get pushed by, because if he does this, if he stops himself right there and just hunkers down, this is actually a pretty good play. We're going to watch it from the backside so you can actually see there is an unblocked. That fold player right here is actually going to end up being right in the position where he needs to be if there was a body back here to slow him down. But what doesn't happen is because this Miami defense is so aggressive, they're okay with doing a blitz and a stunt, and you're going to see a whole bunch of people going a bunch of different directions, which leaves open run lanes. Now, this is something, if you're Abu Sama, if you're Carson Hansen, if you're Jalen Jackson, you have to then make the guys miss if it's on you in the open field. But if they're going to give you these opportunities by being aggressive, you've got to make them pay for their aggressiveness. Now, with this aggression and man coverage, that's going to leave you a lot of opportunities. This is a pretty familiar formation to what Iowa State's going to run. They've got an inline tight end at the top, meaning he is on the line of scrimmage. That's something that Iowa State does a lot, which then leaves 3 wide receivers to one side of the field. Now, if Miami, they're not even really bringing a ton of pressure here, but they are going to leave you in man coverage. You can see this safety is actually playing down. So this is sort of like a cover 1 robber, where this safety is going to come up to the top and this safety is going to play down to try and take away anything that's over the middle. But then they're basically man-to-man here, man-to-man here, and man-to-man there. So what Duke does is they recognize if you're playing down to the middle and this safety is going to be in the middle of the field, that's really this matchup. If you like it, there's no real good way for this safety to get all the way over to help. You can kind of get there, but a one-on-one matchup, especially if you trust a wide receiver, gives you a lot of options. So this is the middle of the field safety that was somewhere over here. This ball, if it's anywhere on this side of the wide receiver, this guy is completely out of the picture. So it is a true one-on-one. Jaden Higgins loves true one-on-ones. This is a really decent, what appears to be a bad ball. It's a pretty decent ball by the quarterback. This corner is playing pretty decent coverage matched up. Well, if he's matched up in this direction, you can't really put it too far down the field because there's too much contact for this receiver to actually make a move on. But if you leave this as a back shoulder ball, this player is going to be either worst case, pass interference, or best case, going to drop off and allow for an angle to actually bring that ball in. Now, one of the other keys that we talked about is creating space. This is Kiko Mauigoa. You don't want to really run too much into this box, especially if Miami's going to spin their safety down. They've got a spun safety down. They've got 2 linebackers and really a nickel that's in a position to make a tackle. This isn't an awesome run look, but it is a pretty good pass look. So you've got to be able to create space, run your man beaters, and then win those one-on-one matchups. But even when you don't, there are ways to create, if Miami does run zone, to create one-on-one opportunities and win. For example, if Miami is going to be running a zone defense, which they did here. Now, how do you know this? The TV copy cut off before this, but this is going to be 2 tight ends were starting on one side of the formation, and they traded over. And when that happened, both of these linebackers, if they were going to be playing man, they would be somewhere over here. They would be on top of the tight ends a little bit more. All they did was just bump, meaning they started kind of there and they moved down to where they're going to be. So that indicated on that trade motion, you're not trying to say completely just upturn the formation. You're trying to get bits of information, meaning I know if it's going to be a zone. Well, why is it important for these tight ends to be on this side if they're going to be running a pass play rather than stacking for a particular run look? Okay, Miami's going to bring pressure. So this is Mauigoa again. He's going to be bringing pressure, which leaves really just one linebacker in the middle of the field. So this linebacker, because he's got 2 tight ends, so this linebacker here, because he's got 2 tight ends to this side, what he's going to do then is he's going to open his hips this direction and he's going to put his back facing that way. What does that do then for this matchup on the top? By trading these tight ends from this side to this side, you create everything except your running back and your wide receiver to be towards the wide side of the field. This, again, if we're going to get your back presented as a linebacker because he's playing these tight ends, this other nickel player is playing the opposite tight end, is that leaves more or less a one-on-one up here. So Miami's running a zone here, and that's fine. If this is Jalen Noel, you still want to find a way to get him in a one-on-one opportunity, because if you're in a zone coverage, quote, zone, but you don't have any help, then it becomes man. You can't just abandon the guy when he leaves. So you've got a man coverage situation, but this is really cover 3. So this is a really nice play call by Louisville. This tight end is just going to get enough verticality to capture that linebacker who's playing with his back to him. This safety is going to be playing down to play the other tight end, and this safety is going to be spinning to the middle of the field because it is cover 3. So this guy is then put in a bind. He does need to play man coverage, but he also has to protect against anything deep. So if this corner is going to be bailing out of there, and this safety's bailing out of there, there's actually a pretty big opening for you to run a slant into. This is the kind of stuff that both Higgins and Noel have done a really good job of, because this corner is in no man's land. This linebacker has been taken out of the play, and the safety that's in the middle of the field is now in a one-on-one opportunity. You got to go make a play. Once you get the ball, you can't block everybody. You have to go win your one-on-ones. Louisville almost gets into the end zone here, but Iowa State is going to be able to formation people into doing this, partially because now these tight ends, for Louisville, they're both receiving threats. the guys that are going to be healthy between whether it's Klotz and Bramer or Burkle, there's guys that you actually care about if you're a linebacker or a safety that you can't just soft off or can't play soft off of, meaning you're going to capture attention with those active tight ends, creating this one-on-one opportunity. Iowa State will need to win their one-on-ones, even if it's going to be in zone coverage, in the passing game to take advantage and match this Miami offense, because it's sort of going to be a first one to 35 wins, and plays like this will allow them to make big plays even in what seems like routine formations.